Welcome to today's episode of the AI Trailblazer podcast. Today we have a very exciting guest. She is none other than Moran, the co-founder and COO at Rebellia. So Moran, it's a pleasure to have you here with us on the show today. Let's start off with yourself. What is your background and what led you to start Rebellia?
Hey, Bruce, thank you so much for the great introduction as well as for having me. My name is
Welcome.
Moran Mizrahi, COO and co founder of Rebillia platform. We are a subscription management platform that brings revolutionary solution to the arena of recurring revenue. And we have started with Rebillia due to our own frustration. So our background as founders of all of us basically is retail, e-commerce, and general consumer good organizations. And we have found out how hard it is to maintain a client, how costly it is to acquire one, and to maintain LTV. And that's how we started with the arena of subscription. With that being said, we find out that subscription is not as straightforward as it seems. And while every merchant like to be on subscription, the customers sometimes have a different set of mind. And we decided to come up with a platform after many years of experience with a platform that allow customers and merchants to meet in the middle and understand each other needs. And that's kind of what brought us to start Rebillia initiative. This is our third product under Rebillia umbrella. And I'm very happy to be here today and tell you a bit more about it.
Yeah, sure. And I'm happy that you shared a good introduction there as well. Yeah, let's jump a bit more into Rebellia itself. What is the main problem that it is trying to solve for what target audience, and then also how does it solve that problem more specifically?
Absolutely. So it's not a secret that the world kind of moving towards subscription, right? Everything is subscription nowadays. And that is a trend that is, as mentioned, very comfortable for the merchant, as once you aligned with a client, you can just leverage on that specific client. You already put so much money towards the cost of acquiring the client, and now you can continue and enjoy the revenue. With that being said, the world also have another big trend run nowadays, and the clients are really on demand, right? Everybody want what they want now, and not necessarily looking for a specific loyalty, but do look for comfortability. So think of yourself as a client. The first thing that you do before you go on subscription is checking how can I get out of it. So the first thing subscription is allowing you as a merchant is think of your churn. Where do you get out of it? How can you disconnect? And basically, where can you disengage? With that being said, the merchant thinking of the subscription as the point of engagement. And once the client is in the checkout and already started his subscription, that's where the engagement breaks. So Rebillia came with a new solution that is a super flexible subscription. So if you think of subscription, it's something pretty rigid, right? Every so and so you get this and that to that and that address, right? So if you order it as a client dog food, for example, you might have signed up for some membership that every 1 month you get in, let's say, dog treat into your specific address. And now you kind of stuck with the same product, with the same quantity, with the same timing, going to the same address while the world is really global today and we're all traveling all the time. So this is kind of the problem and the pain point. With that being said, Rebillia coming in and solving this problem by allowing the merchant tools that are super flexible and changeable throughout the life cycle of the subscription. So the merchant can set up set of rules that his client can use and pick and choose from the full offering of the merchant. In other words, the merchant get full flexibility to allow different tools, and all limitations of subscriptions are breaking into pieces. Everything that related to timing and the product and the pricing all breaking into pieces and not exist anymore. And the client on the other end can keep and pick and choose and change the subscription throughout the entire life cycle of the subscription, if that makes sense. And I find that very useful for many of our merchants and many of the clients. And while our specific client is the merchant, we are in the set of mind of conversion and allowing our merchants to really understand their clients better through AI and different tools and basically maintain the relationship over and over again.
Okay, got it. Now, can we talk a bit about your role within the company and then how does that fit into the bigger picture at Rebellia?
So, as mentioned, I'm the COO. However, we are in a startup set of mind, and everybody within the company, including me, wearing so many hats. Overall, I am in charge of the general operation. I'm in charge of relationship, partnerships, as well as managing the team overall. And also getting to know other entities and other companies. So, really on top of a lot of our partnership and engagements.
Okay, cool. So you touched a bit on the partnerships and engagement, right? I was curious, what are the main go-to-market channels or marketing channels that Rebellia relies on to drive growth?
Well, I will tell you that we are not necessarily traditional, right? So we are not investing in the traditional sales and marketing channels, and it might be surprising. Our go to market is a bit different. We are all about engagement and saving time and think of the next step. So we as a company will engage a lot more into networking event, getting to know people, create real meaningful relationships, and way less about marketing campaign, Facebook campaign, LinkedIn campaign. So we are not promoting to the general channels that you might know. We a bit more about going and meeting people, and that's as a goal, as a company, that is our goal. With that being said, I also find out that some of our major commitments, some of our major engagements and relationship actually came from community volunteering, and we are um, we are engaged in so many community events and different responsibilities and different volunteering options. And I find out that a lot of our networking coming directly from those, and it's almost like I don't want to put this on karm, because obviously we live in the business, so wherever we are out there, we are very much about putting it out there, creating meaningful conversations. However, I find out that when you dare to help to others, and there's always an interesting conversation that is less direct about you and what is it that you want and what's your business wants, and more about let's engage, let's really talk and find a solution that would be great for all. So I find that most of our very general relationships coming from really being out there and talk with people.
Okay, cool. But then have you also tried this traditional marketing approaches like digital marketing channels and then how does that compare to, let's say, the results from your
So I
traditionally successful networking and partnerships?
so I might not be your best bet in asking that specific question, because to be honest, the effort that we put towards a lot of the traditional, as I said, email campaign, marketing campaign, we're not doing as much of those. But as mentioned, we are more about being on top of different type of communication and more even what me and you doing right now. That's marketing, right? You're allowing me to participate in your podcast. You're allowing me to tell more about my story. However, there's much more engagement into it. Really allowing myself to open up, tell a bit more about my story, hopefully help some other startup owners as well, different business personals. And by that, that's how we get most of our engagements. We're not doing as much of the traditional stuff. So I cannot really talk to the metrics of those traditional ways.
Yeah, no worries at all. Then, when it comes to the goals for the company, let's say for the next 6 to 12 months, where do you envision, where do you want Rebellia to be at?
So 6 months to 1 year, is that what you've been asking?
Yes, yes.
So we are in the right track right now with traction. So as of right now, our traction is just a bit bigger than our ability to observe clients. So our main goal right now is serve all clients, and all inbound leads coming from those engagement and from the interactions. We are very precise about giving great customer service and make sure that each and every client is fully get the full attention he needs. AI also make it very easy nowadays, right? To if you use AI with the right approach and more enrolling clients where on with AI where they don't really need you ever do give the thoughts and make sure you're on top of your clients and give those full relationship a thought and make the connection where needed. I think the combine of the two is really what working for us. And the goal really is to kind of complete those new partnership, new engagement. However, within a year, we would like to open a new pipeline, I guess, and bring more new avenues that we have not yet aligned with.
Okay, got it. So when you say that one of your goal was to open a pipeline and bring in new avenues, right? Does that mean just investing more into this traditional marketing channels like networking or partnerships? Or what's your plan to get there?
Well, definitely at that point, I would say after we reach our goal, which is more aligning with what we have on the current pipeline, and once we keep engaging and aligning with partners, which bring us clients, we're definitely going to be open for a more direct approach and more marketing and traditional and direct marketing and sales approach. So I would assume that our go-to-market will change with time and we will be a bit more traditional.
Okay, interesting. But what does the timeline look like? Is that still within the next 6 to 12 months? Or is that like, further out?
Well, I am assumed that it is within the next 6 to 12 months. It really depends on the engagement, right? When you are engaging with more of a bigger partner, um, not necessarily right now want to mention names, but some of our channel partners are a bit more on the bringing enterprise client. Then 6 to 12 months, it might be not as long time. With that being said, some of our mid-sized clients do allow us a really, really quick integration, I would say within days, and leave more room towards new strategies.
Okay, got it. Then what have been some of the biggest bottlenecks or constraints that you've encountered while growing the business or that you are encountering right now?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that make general constraints is that I think we a pet in general in the world right now that we're making this move from balancing between human minds to AI and automation of processes. The more you automate, the more you invest into AI and automation and do it correctly, you might save more time, but you also have to really keep good balance by not annoying your clients, not put them in a situation that they feel neglected and don't get this human touch. So I think that balance is.
Could you give a more specific example about that where you automated some process with AI too much and then that led to your client not being satisfied?
Well, I will give you a main example. I just find myself trying to discuss a situation with a certain company on the personal side of things and couldn't find a resolution. I couldn't talk with no one for over a month. And I tried every trick in the book, and I think I know most of the tricks in the book. I open a support ticket, I try to engage, there was some missing information that didn't allow me to go and talk directly about the specific case because there was some missing emails that they have not sent, and I couldn't resolve that. That is something I don't want to be part of my business at under no cost, right? So
Right.
some of the smart automations are really there for the client, and some of the AI component might be hurting you. So I want to make sure
Mm,
that at some point after a client or a merchant engage with our customer success team or customer service, he could actually do some of the tackling himself and get answers directly from our AI bot. However, I would like to make sure that really quickly he knows that there's always someone to talk with if he couldn't find the resolution. And that's just a matter of setting, right? To what extent you setting up a system that blocking the client from reaching out. So we always want to leave this open channel for communication and make sure that every client get some level of interaction where we do not ignore his needs, and that once they do need a human touch, we are there for them. I don't know if that's setting up an example, but more explaining the
right.
situation. And
Oh, it's clear enough. Yeah, I think it's important to always like ensure you have a human in the loop for any of the process that you want to automate, especially that are front facing with your customers. So that poses like an interesting question to me as well. Like, how would you try and strike the right balance between automating too much and then also having that human touch? Is there like a specific guideline or metric that you go by to try and ensure that there is sufficient balance?
well, I'm not necessarily know that I will call it a metrics. I would tell you that my unique way of doing things is to be very hands-on. And I'm very much about changing human touch and save on time on the things that really doesn't matter. So not just internally towards our client, but also internally with our team. I'm trying to be very hands on. I'm trying to be very much for them, trying to meet as much as possible. And however, I would like to save time in so many other aspects. So the aspect that does not make my team feel that they are out of the loop, all going into automation, right? Uh, every spam email will go into automation, right? Every interaction with a team member will be with a human touch. Daily meetings stay as they are. However, meetings go into some AI summary. So this is kind of the set of mind of how to save time, make sure that really the 20% of interaction is that we have nowadays with each other is bringing the 80% of level of quality, right? That is for the right cause, and actually being that I'm being really hands-on with solving problems, with understanding internally the needs of every personnel within the company, and that I'm really also giving full guidance where it's come to relationship and setting up an example, and not just sending a personnel to learn about different component of the company from some AI or from some documentation, if that makes sense. I definitely, and to give an example, if I'm teaching something or if I have a new employee, I will take the time to explain and explore and answer questions versus sending over to read a lot of documentation and learn about the company from some internet interaction. So procedure and maybe processes will be taught by automations. However, there's always going to be some interaction to learn about my experience within the company and other personal experience in the company, and that's always gonna be not just with the human touch but also, if possible, face to face, and if not possible face to face, that via.
Hmm. Okay, I understand. So you think that it's still important to have some level of interaction, especially with onboarding new employees, as instead of having to teach them everything regarding the company.
Yes, and it's not just with employees, just inside out. The entire process is reducing what's not touching our team, clients, personnel, partners, and turns it into interaction and engagement, digital interaction. However, there must be as well a certain touch of that is quality and relevant in whatever it is that we're doing.
Okay, exactly. Yeah, I agree there. So, since we are on the trend of AI and automation, what are some of the trends or shifts that you've been seeing in your industry, and then how is that impacting the growth of Rebellia?
So I think that one thing that's really precise about Rebillia is that we have predicted that trend long time ago. The whole point of Rebillia is to understand changing client needs and collecting the information, understanding how can we make client journey stronger and more engageable. And that's the thought behind the whole software, which is exactly what AI bringing us nowadays, right? Everything is personal, answers are more precise, and we have to have this interaction where we understand the client fully. So this is what Rebillia is all about, even before AI become a thing. And I think that's kind of playing to our favor. And in addition to it, I also think that really when the world moved to AI, the biggest opportunity here is that we're so flexible that we are really a match to AI agents. So everyone can be an AI agent right now. The problem always starts when they want to scale, right? Now they need a super flexible billing solution if they really want to scale and they want to work with monetization through tokenization, usage base, maybe some fixed price. Sometimes the combination of all vary between different clients. That's where they're having an issue.
Hold on, so you keep talking about this of super flexible pricing that Rebellia provides. Can you give like a more specific example of how that looks like compared to the normal SaaS subscription, monthly subscription, as well as the usage based pricing that some of these SaaS they have already employed?
Well, I will start by using the same example that I gave you of e-commerce, and then I will move to SaaS. So really use the example that we use. Right? So let's say that you are right now engaged with the dog treat company, right? Or with dog supply company. And now you're on a general subscription. You will subscribe for the same treat every month. However, with Rebillia, you can really choose to have those treats every 2 months for the first cycle, and then you might need them every 3 weeks for the next few cycles, and maybe coming towards a different location. Might want to set that up in a way that when there's deals, then you are aligning with those specific deals and changing them. And once the promotion or the deal is off, you want to maybe skip or stop the engagement. With that being said, you might want to change it, or having dog food, you might want to have your dog shots, and this is whole, or medication, and this could be all on one subscription plan. So our plan is really changeable, both upfront and super flexible, and throughout the life cycle of the engagement, throughout the life cycle of the subscription, if that makes sense. Now, if I like to give you some SaaS examples, so let's talk about an AI agent. As an AI agent, you might like to charge your client per month, but then once their tokenization is, I guess, you might roll over tokens. You might like to charge more when the token is over on an automation. You might want to allow them to buy on the spot a bigger plan, or you might like to, from time to time, offer promotions on the go. You also might like to put some usage based component into it. So you can make those super flexible plans with almost no limitation that the clients can adjust to on the go.
Right. So you also brought up the idea of like rollover credits, and all of this super flexible pricing seems to benefit more of the SaaS companies that themselves. But let's say for the consumers, if let's say they subscribe to a software that doesn't allow rollover credits, so they have to subscribe every month, is it possible for Rebellia to help them with this, for example?
So that is a very interesting question because eventually the clients that coming towards us are the ones that really understand the customer centric approach and like to set up their rules by the set of mind of the client. So overall, for the most part, when you enroll into any subscription and you see a pretty rigid plan, you can choose between one to two to three. However, the plan is rigid. The reason that most businesses do it this way is because they're using tools that only allow them those rigid plans. If you take, for example, of the cable TV, right? The cable channels, those have very rigid plan, not necessarily because they believe in this plan that really belongs to back in the days, but for the most part, because they rely on specific tools that don't allow them to break those limitations. So overall, when a client interested in Rebillia, when a merchant interested in Rebillia, that would be most likely a merchant that like to understand the set of mind of the clients and follow the lead of the client and actually believe in that flexibility. So, to answer your question, the rules are set by the merchant. It's not Rebillia that's
I see.
making
Okay.
rules, it's Rebillia that giving the
So you follow
opportunity.
the rules of the merchants.
Yes, and Rebillia
I
giving
see.
Rebillia allowing the merchant to have to break the limitations. However, it's on the
Mm,
merchant to understand. Rebillia not just allowing to reduce the limitation, but also help to understand the client better. However, it's on the merchant to want to follow the lead of the client and probably to also really believe in a customer centric approach and that believe that for
I
the
see.
long run, an happy client is a client that stays with you.
Right. So Rebellia allows these merchants to customize their pricing, but ultimately it's up to the merchants to be able to decide what's best for the customer and use it as a way to try and gauge what the customer expects or wants.
Exactly. Rebillia allows that opportunity. It's on the merchant to decide how they want to use it.
Got it. So that brings us to the conclusion of the podcast episode, Moran. Once again, thank you for your time and for sharing these valuable insights with our audience. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for having me. I really enjoyed your podcast. And hopefully, this will be helpful at least for one person.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.